You've probably seen Hollywood movies where a hole in the side of a plane causes utter chaos, food trays and bags flying, and seatbelts unable to keep passengers in place. Aloha Airlines Flight 243, a story of courage. On April 28, 1988, around 1 p.m., Aloha Airlines Flight 243 was about to take off in Hawaii. It was a beautiful and sunny day, and most of the passengers were there to enjoy their holidays. This flight was traveling from Hilo to Honolulu, flight around to 35 minutes. The capital of Hawaii, which is a group of beautiful islands in the Pacific Ocean and a part of America. Aloha Airlines is a local Hawaiian airline that connects the various islands. Because of the short distances, this specific plane had already flown 8 times since morning, going on 3 different round trips. But this wasn't unusual. It's normal for such planes. Everything was going as it should. Passengers boarded, the doors were closed, and at exactly 1:25 p.m., the flight took off. There was one unusual thing, though. When one of the passengers was boarding the plane, she noticed a little crack in one of the riveted sheets that make up the body of the plane before entering the door. However, she didn't tell anyone, thinking it wouldn't make a difference since this was a reputable airline and the plane flew regularly. She assumed it was inspected regularly and that someone would have noticed any problems. She thought it was inconsequential. Only after 10 to 15 minutes of the plane's takeoff did the air hostesses bring in the trolleys and start serving drinks to the passengers. The seatbelt sign wasn't turned off yet, as it is usually turned off only when the plane reaches cruising altitude, which for this flight was 24,000 feet. There were 3 air hostesses on the flight serving drinks, just 20 minutes after takeoff. The flight reached its cruising altitude of 24,000 feet. As soon as it reached this height, there was a big blast. No one could have imagined how devastating this would turn out to be. The passengers heard a loud bang, followed by sudden rapid decompression. People struggled to breathe as chaos and terrible confusion erupted. No one could understand what was happening. Some passengers looked around and saw that the plane's roof and surrounding walls were missing. They could see the sky above them. What had happened was that about 35 square meters of the front of the plane's body had disintegrated and blown away, sending things flying all around. Michelle Honder, one of the flight attendants, was serving row 15 when the blast occurred. She tried to contact corporate through the intercom after the blast, but she received no response. CP Lansing, another flight attendant, was serving drinks to passengers near row 5 when this incident happened. When the roof of the plane flew off, it also flew into the air along with plane roof. The third flight attendant was Jane Sato, who was serving near row 2. She was struck in the face by flying luggage, causing her to fall to the ground. Michelle Honda get close to corporate. While staying on the ground, she saw that her friend was injured. After a few minutes, all these passengers will become unconscious or die. The air is going at a speed of almost 500 kilometers per hour and it is difficult to open the eyes. The temperature is almost minus 45 centigrade. If somehow get oxygen, it is impossible to survive in this cold because most of the passengers are wearing shirts and shirts. Michelle Honda is the only one air hostess who tries to contact the pilot again and again. The best thing, all in the danger. Pilot is not only alive but also receiving proper oxygen. Amy Tompkins contact airport authorities for emergency landing.
Request clearance into Maui for landing. Request the emergency equipment.
Captain Robert piloted the aircraft at a steady speed of 170 knots. He approached a narrow pass between 2 mountains. The plane was moving toward runway 2 of Kahului Airport. Following the captain's command, the first officer lowered the landing gear, but the indicator light didn't come on. That could mean either they had a bad light or they had serious problems with the nose gear, but that wasn't the only problem. As the plane was approaching the runway, the left engine failed and the aircraft started rocking and shaking. The captain made an attempt to restart the engine but didn't succeed, and still at 1:58 p.m., just 10 minutes after the emergency and 35 minutes after the takeoff. Aloha Airlines Flight 243 managed to touch down on the runway of Kahului Airport. Landing a plane with such a huge loss of integrity was an unprecedented feat. To stop the plane, the crew used the reverse thrust of the second, still working engine. As soon as the plane stopped, the evacuation began. Everyone on the plane, except for the flight attendant who had been pulled out of the plane, was alive, although 65 people were injured. Most people had been hurt by flying debris and torn pieces of fuselage. Unfortunately, since nobody on the ground had known how serious the situation was, no ambulances were waiting for the injured. The first one arrived 7 minutes after the plane landed.